Guys, we're back, and so is labor peace in the NHL.
Finally.
Woo!
I'm excited.
We're here, guys.
This is a first.
Yeah. So, how are you guys first?
Just,
I'm okay.
the word of the week is progress.
Sorry?
The word of the week is progress.
Okay,
It is.
okay.
It is.
Like it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the read of the week anymore. We have the word of the week.
The
Yes.
word of the week.
I
We
like
cut it down a bit.
I like it.
There's certain two words that, if you want to talk about a certain two words, a certain reporter for ESPN said a colorful two words to a senator. That's something. We won't talk about that today, but that would be a story to keep an eye on. Good old Adrian Wojcinski.
Wojcinowski.
Sorry, it's Woj, as we'll call it. Woj.
The Woj.
Okay.
It's just so difficult to say.
Yeah.
At least
Comments were crazy though on that tweet or his apology. Like the comments, man. Like the gifts were.
free Woj.
I
got the
haven't even gotten into it.
Yeah.
It's and then like the senator has like invited ESPN's president to come talk. It's the politics are messy. But guys, we're gonna talk something else. The Styrian Grand. This is hockey podcast, but we have to talk about the Styrian Grand Prix, the second round of the 2020 season for Formula One. And guys, taking home pole position.
I hope
won the British man, Lewis Hamilton.
I hope our video doesn't get taken down for copyright infringement because you played the British national anthem.
Save Lewis Hamilton.
Oh.
Daniel, just remember, if our video gets taken down off YouTube, we're blaming it all on Adam.
I'd like to say I'm sorry, YouTube, for all of that, and I hope everything's okay.
Lewis Hamilton.
We do not own any of those rights to the British national anthem. Did you have to say that or something in like the description so they'll put it down?
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out when I upload
own
it.
nothing. I always see that in YouTube channels.
Listen, I'm English. I have British blood. I was born on British soil.
Don't
so
think
I
that's
have
how it works. Don't think that's how it
right.
works. That's definitely not how it works on YouTube.
Fellas, anyway, how do you copyright a national anthem?
I don't know.
That's so dumb. You shouldn't be able to own that.
I don't actually know if that's the case, to be honest. But
let's stop talking about it.
I hope it is because it'd be really funny.
But guys, Lewis Hamilton, his 85th career win after Toto described his qualifying as a unicorn. Because it was so in the rain, more than the second over Verstappen. My dear God. And that Mercedes are so dominant. But Verstappen didn't have a chance today. It was bad.
No, I'm pretty sure I said it last week that Hamilton has this chip on his shoulder because we don't really know how long the season is. I think right now it's at 10 races. You could add more. They could add more, right? They just added another track in Italy, and they added the track in Russia. But all this can be canned real quick. So I think he has a chip on his shoulder to say, I need to be at the top. And I'm not sure I'm pretty sure he's I don't think he's at the top of the Drivers' Championship.
No, he's second.
Because Bottas won and then came in second. But I feel like I keep saying this about Red Bull. If Verstappen didn't have I think he had an issue with one of his front wings. I think it was the right side. And he was keeping pace, like relative pace, ahead of Bottas. And then he had front wing damage, and it was just over because the Mercedes car is so much more dominant than any other car.
Alex,
sorry,
you're a big Alex Albon fan, but man, as talented as a young driver he is, and how good Max is, and Verstappen said it himself, Red Bull are just not fast enough. That engine has been a woe for them. Renault, when they were with them, now even Honda. I don't know how Red Bull are going to go this year, Dan.
I think if you take Mercedes out of the mix, imagine we had a Formula One season without Mercedes.
I didn't know your name was Daniel.
I'm just talking. I don't care.
Well, that's okay. Alex has good observation. No. No, don't worry.
I didn't
Alex
hear you
has.
say Daniel. Okay, whatever. Go. It's gonna be the entire episode. Go.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. No, it's like.
Go.
Sorry. But yeah, big day for Red Bull. I know the engine didn't really go there, but yeah, fun fact because my family and I are looking for a new car, and we just always been looking at Honda. So I have to go with Red Bull.
Which one? Which one does he drive?
He drives a Honda Civic Type R,
Yeah, that's a good, nice car.
Max
Yeah.
car.
Christian's not going to be happy with him today. You know you're in a bad position when Verstappen can have a free pit stop at the end of the race with damages to his car. Guys, though, it's time to go into hockey. We discussed it earlier. We're going to do a deeper dive into the CBA, but just for now, we'll just quick thoughts from both of you, starting with Alex. The CBA has been ratified, and it runs until 2026. Labor peace for 6 years, fellas.
Yeah, this is exciting. We don't have to deal with a lockout.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if I'm being honest, I don't think there was going to be a lockout this time around. Be just looking at what's going on around, like, despite remove the whole pandemic that's going on. I think if let's say we weren't in a pandemic, I think you look at what's coming up, Seattle and the US TV deal. I don't really think it gives the NHL a good look to head in, because I believe it would have been next year that they could have. Mm-hmm. That it would have been a lockout. Imagine Seattle's first year being a lockout, or the year before the US TV deal runs out, it's a lockout. It doesn't look good on the NHL, and I think they took advantage. I think the players took advantage of that as well, and getting some certain things that maybe on a regular CBA might not have happened.
Mm-hmm. Daniel.
Yeah, I'm actually like pretty happy with a lot of the things they kind of agreed on. I know the big headline thing is everyone's been talking about the Olympics, but I think like the revenue aspect of everything has, they found pretty good ways to kind of move around it, like the minimum wage rising by 50,000 to 750,000 now. I think that's pretty good for a lot of players that, they're not exactly, your roster fixtures.
Yeah.
Or anything. Escrow's been, it's been curved. It's been put at a restriction. And what else have we been looking at? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think they could get back that revenue. I think the number they put was 4.8 billion that they would have to hit for next season or the season after, I believe, for the salary cap to rise. But
yeah,
it's kind of good that. Yeah, I'm kind of happy that they were able to keep the cap at 81.5 even for until next year. That, you don't see any rollback.
Yeah, I think we'll get to it later, but I don't think the Olympics was the players' biggest win.
There are some real good snippets in there, and yeah, you're right. We will do a nice little quick dive on. Well, each of us will pick one big aspect of the CBA we really like. Then we'll do a quick fire on to some other notable notes. But guys, we have a real return to the Power Hour. So many great little pieces of news came out this week. Stuff that normally would be such massive headlines. But we'll start with this: the New Jersey Devils have hired their new head coach. Alain Nesradine did not get the job. Instead, the Devils, who I thought, you look at I thought they were maybe going a new direction with this kind of committee by general manager. Tom Fitzgerald, side note, is officially GM, but Lindy Ruff has been named the new head coach of the New Jersey Devils. And Daniel, you have been a fan since I want to say Lindy Ruff started. So what do you make of this hire? The guy in charge of New York's defense is now the head coach of the Devils.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird thing. Like, he has what's Mike?
Sorry? Oh no! Oh, I think Daniel's gone. Oh dear.
I'm just gonna
Alex.
pause it. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'll go and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
it's just another one of those. In my opinion, I'm really happy that they stuck with Tom Fitzgerald. I think, looking at the things he did moving up until the deadline, looking at Vatanen, moving Vatanen, moving Wayne Simmons, those were really good moves. Like, I think there were other guys he could have moved, but I'm not surprised that he didn't. Like looking at someone like Kyle Palmieri, is that someone, maybe that's someone they look at moving next year, or if that's a guy they want to keep, that's a guy they want to keep. But I think for the most part, he did a good job at, working with the deals that were expiring this year instead of letting them walk. But in terms of the coaching, there's a part of me that wants to say this doesn't come to that this isn't a surprise, but I really thought they would be a little bit different. Going back to Lindy Ruff, or bringing back Lindy Ruff, just I don't know what you see. Like, why? It just seems like another move that is another 200 hockey men type move. Like, was there real, you look at how the Devils did without who was their coach? Why is the name not coming to me?
John Hines?
John Hines. When John Hines got fired and Alain Nasreddine was hired, he did turn that team around somewhat. Yes, they have Mackenzie Blackwood, who despite being on, I don't know what that team was, is a pretty decent goalie. But Alain Nasreddine really did help. Like, I think we've talked about it multiple times that New Jersey looked completely different. Number one, without Taylor Hall, and number two, with Alain Nasreddine.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you say, hey, why don't we even, like, it's not like New Jersey's gonna fix themselves over this summer or maybe next summer, right? Like, I think this is going to be somewhat of a process.
Well, they do have. I don't think it's as long as you. Well, how long would you think? Because remember, they got a lot of good young players. They have another good draft pick this year.
What I'm saying is, why don't you give Alain Nasreddine a chance? Why go the route of bringing in Lindy Ruff is the question. Like, try something. It seemed like having Alain Nasreddine there wasn't the worst thing for the team, but to go out and bring Lindy Ruff.
He's part of that weird generation of like Ken Hitchcock, or Lindy, like that whole time generation. Like Lindy Ruff is just such a weird hire, and he just feels so like it feels like taking two steps back. Wise, and again, I mentioned that this is the guy who's in charge of the New York Rangers defense. Now, obviously, he'll have assistants, but I mean, this is already a Devils team that. I mean, there's a reason they're on Steve Dangitz every other week. This is the team that scored, I think it was 3 or 4 own goals. I mean, PK Subban, I love the guy, but has just been a turnover machine. I don't understand the hire either, and I think you're right. Nasreddine really turned that team into, I want to say, watchable. You always have to be careful with those teams that are out of it, and then they have a great second half of the season. But still, it is. I am trying to stall for Daniel to come back. I won't lie here.
Yeah. Sorry. Do you have more to say?
I was just going to talk about Fitzgerald. If you have anything else to say about Ruff.
I was just going to say, like, I'm looking at Lindy Ruff's coaching record. The last time he was a head coach was 16-17 with Dallas. Like, he was with Dallas for 4 years. He made the playoffs his first year, missed the playoffs his second year, made the playoffs the third year, and missed it the year after. And that's I'd assume that's what's got him fired.
Yes. He hasn't been. When was the last time he made it to? I'm assuming you have HockeyDB up.
I have his Wikipedia page up, but I have the results. What's up?
When was the last time he made a conference finals? And I want to think Buffalo days here.
The conference finals,
yes,
was 2006, 2007 with the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, so more than a decade ago was the last time this guy had the slightest bit of success. Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking along the lines of, is there an issue inside the locker room or because there's so many young players. Because to me, and it's not on, like, I don't think Lindy Ruff maybe isn't necessarily on that same level, but it reminds me of the Mike Babcock hiring, in terms of Mike Babcock and Lou Lamoriello were brought in to fix the reputation of the club. I don't know if that's something the Devils need to do, but it's a real kick in the ass for the players to have Lindy Ruff. I don't know what his coaching style inside the room is.
But he screams old-fashioned, doesn't he?
A little bit.
DJ Smith is the kind of coach I think would be perfect for the Devils.
Yeah. Someone that can make the team watchable, to be honest.
I guess because we are trying to have a bit more. We are working on condensing the show and making it, not 2 hours an episode. So Unfortunately, we'll move on because we're still waiting for Daniel.
We'll just pause. Why don't we just pause and wait for Daniel, and then we'll start up again. Okay.
All right. See you in a second. Yeah. All right. We're back. Before we move on, Daniel, since you are back, just quickly your thoughts on Lindy Ruff and Tom Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I don't know. With Lindy, it's kind of, I remember when he was like, that fixture on Buffalo all those many moons ago.
Yeah.
They had a pretty competitive team. Even when things kind of slumped, maybe like an early round exit, they kept him around. And, he's a guy you kind of always saw with the national team. So it's just like, it just kind of feels like, as much as I liked him, even on Dallas at some points, what the Devils should have kind of gone is a new approach, like a fresh face, because nothing is really working. And then, like, it is, I hate using the old boys club, but it feels like this.
The revolving door of the same 20 coaches.
With Tom Fitzgerald, I kind of felt that, we'll see what he could bring to the team. Like, I'm kind of already skeptical about this hire, but I don't know, like, I really thought Rishiro could have turned it around here.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know how you kept him in the job after all those off-season moves, though. I don't.
Yeah.
But we'll go to another hire. And this is a really, really good one. The Minnesota Wild, who are slated to play the Vancouver Canucks in the opening round of the qualifier, they did sign former Canucks director of amateur scouting, Judd Brackett. I love this so much, fellas. It adds, not really, I don't think the players are really going to care about it, but to us, to the media, it just adds another little layer to that. But the Wild, who needs something to go right for them, have this guy. They have Judd Brackett.
Sounds like it's going right. Man, I'm telling you, this is going to be a nasty team. Just Judd Brackett. Guy's going to be a draft. They're going to be draft gods, okay? Let's remember, they almost traded Zach Parise. That contract.
I thought it was like an unmovable contract.
Well, it's a lot more movable now.
Yeah.
We'll get into later about the CBA. It's another little. Minnesota are starting to get a little team together there. Well, Bill Guerin, did a really good job in the oh my god, why can't in the Zucker deal? Sorry.
Yeah.
Getting Kalen Addison back, and then Paul Fenton. I start feeling a little bad for him because man, the Granlund deal looked really bad, but now Kevin Fiala is starting to look like a real star. So, you've got a piece there.
How about that Victor Rask deal?
Oh.
Everyone gets one. Still.
Okay.
It was shocking. It's like a GM being fired in a year. It's like
The one thing I just had with the Kevin Fiala deal is just, I think the approach Fenton had to it, where he's like, I didn't even look at the advanced stats. I didn't look at anything. I just wanted the guy.
Yeah.
It's like I had a feeling about him. Apparently that's what the scout said.
Anyway, though, but Minnesota I can't really remember like the last few players they've really even developed who are real names to speak of. Dubnik's been shopped around the league like nothing.
Yeah.
They signed Parise and Suter.
Dumba.
Yeah, Umbrella.
Brodeen.
And then
Oh,
who else is there?
Kirill Kaprizov. Everyone's talking
That
about him.
who's going to come next year.
Yeah, 5th round pick in 2015.
And then just out of there, it's like it's kind of like Dallas. Like they've got the good guy, but it's just like there's nothing really else, especially at forward. There's nothing real. Like there's Jordan Greenway, Luke Kunin might be something, but then it just kind of feels like a bit of a ghost town there because they've never been bad enough to get those legitimate picks either.
They like getting like those defensive guys that they're hoping their offense kind of catches up to them, like Joel Eriksson. Like it's a guy that it's either he's gonna be like ceiling third line center, or he'll become something more that he could put into the top six. But it's looking more like the former right now.
Which is not good for the Wild. But in all seriousness, Judd Brackett, great hire for them.
Absolutely.
And it'll be. I hope someone gets a chart to start comparing the draft picks of the Wild and the Canucks over the next few years. Now that Brackett is gone, we're still on Minnesota and Vancouver kind of page here. It was reported by TSN that the Canucks are exploring the route of a Brock Besser deal. Because, guys, if you listened to the last episode, you may know that the Canucks are in serious cap trouble. Though I don't quite know if dealing Brock Besser is the best way to solve bringing back Tyler Toffoli. That's my thoughts.
That'd be a
apparently
mistake.
it is to help sign with Toffoli, which is insane because Toffoli's like 5 years older. And he's had I think I saw a tweet that Toffoli's had 155-point season. Besser's had 2. And I think Brock Besser's only been in the league for 2 years. What are your guys' thoughts, Alex?
I don't know why they would trade Brock Besser.
Mm-hmm.
I think they put themselves in the worst situation possible. Let me pull up their cap friendly, and I know we talked about this last episode. Not all their deals are unmovable. I don't think the Anton Roussel deal is unmovable. I think the Tanner Pearson deal is absolutely movable. I think that based on what he's done this year, I think he's created somewhat of a small market for himself.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, it's just Louis Eriksson. Even the Tyler Myers deal doesn't look good. Troy Stetcher's on his way out.
Because of the stud cap deals. It's funny that when we had Harman Dyer of The Athletic on, he talked about that maybe there could be a Jordy Ben deal to try and help everything out. And instead the Canucks have gone instead of what normal teams do and try and get rid of the spare parts of a bit of cap and try and scrape something together. The Canucks have just decided to say, hey, let's get rid of probably one of our, if not the best goal scorer on the team. This is a guy who was a Calder finalist. It was right up there. People were talking about Matt Barzal. Might have won the Calder if he didn't get hurt. And I don't think Besser's injury problems either are anything to try and put him over Tyler Toffoli.
No, I that would be because I think that was one of the things that were coming out about this is that they I remember Harman was saying how much they value Tyler Toffoli. But do you value Tyler Toffoli enough to trade Brock Besser? What are you – I think the question I have, if I had to ask Jim Benning one question, is what are you going to get back for Brock Besser? I know –
you say a Matt Dumba deal.
But yeah, but then it's okay, so right now – it just doesn't seem to add up. You're going to take on money for Brock Besser, but the whole point of getting rid of Brock Besser is you want to get draft picks and prospects, right? You're not sending out money to bring money in. You're sending out his salary of $5.875 million so that when you have to re-sign Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes, you have extra money, right? So what are you going to trade Brock Besser for?
What do you think, Daniel? The Canucks have so many. When you quickly, phased out there, I brought up the point that Harmon, when we had him on the show, said that there could have been a Jordy Ben deal in the works to try and clear up cap stream to re-sign a Toffoli or a Markstrom. But the Canucks have just gone the other way here and are looking to deal one of their best forwards. A young forward at that.
Yeah. That's definitely like kind of a head scratcher for me, especially like, I know he's had injury problems, but that's not a horrible cap hit. And I think I brought it before. It's just the past mistakes we've talked about that, that dead money right there. Lou Erickson, Jay Beagle, Anton Roussel, that's all 12 million when you put it all together. And the fact that like you have these contracts on the books and you're thinking, I gotta get to the core now and try to shed some salary there. It's pretty disappointing for a team that's on the rise.
Yeah. Another team that we kind of thought was on the rise this year, but kind of floated back down. The Florida Panthers are that team I'm speaking of. Chris Pronger, who has been an executive there for the past few seasons, has left the organization. And it's weird because when I looked at the Panthers, if there's one organization that I said, man, you got to fire your GM, besides the Habs, obviously. How in the world, Talon still has a job with Florida? I thought that maybe Pronger was going to be his successor, but apparently he's leaving to start his own business. No. And I was reading stuff about luxury airlines. I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was on 31 Thoughts. Sorry. He was on 31 Thoughts a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, he was talking about that. I had found this on Twitter, and I'm sorry, I screenshotted it. I don't remember who tweeted it, but this is what it says. There's more to Chris Pronger leaving the Florida Panthers than has been spoken about. Pronger wanted to be the next general manager and should have been the man to replace Dale Talon. Word around is that the assistant GM, Eric Joyce, will soon to be elevated to the top job. His background isn't hockey, it's national security. The Panthers continually keep trying to be smarter than everyone else in hockey and somehow fail every time they get cute.
That is hilariously true. Hilariously. I mean, see what you want about bringing Pronger in, because he's a former hockey guy, too. I don't know what that does for you, but that's such a weird... Wait, say his name again? Who's this guy who was from...
Eric Joyce. Eric Joyce.
National security.
The Panthers are weird, man. The Panthers are weird. I don't get what they're doing. I don't know why...
Going off the board with their management as well.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm trying to transit, but my dog is not in a good mood. All right, let me ask you guys this: the Panthers. What do you? And now a motorcycle? Seriously? I was talking to Mike, okay, and we got into this discussion, and I asked him, Mike, if he was showing me a picture of him in the cup, and I said, "Oh, I noticed you in the picture not touching the cup because you don't touch the cup, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course, no, I never will." And I asked him, "Do you think if given the chance and the Leafs won the cup, and like a Leaf were to offer it to him, do you think Steve Dangle deserves to win the Stanley Cup?"
Absolutely.
His name should be on the cup.
Okay, Daniel, do you agree? No, I'm not gonna acknowledge the cup because it should not be on the cup.
I don't know.
He should get a ring. Okay.
It's gonna be like Nav.
If Drake gets a ring, Drake gets a ring.
My next question. It's gonna be my next question. Hold on. Do you think he should, Daniel? Like should Steve and Daniel get the chance to hold it and raise the cup above his head?
I don't know. It's like because it's like he's an attachment of another sports network, right? Like, did we see? But yeah, he's like an attachment. Like, he works for Sportsnet. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, did Rod Black get a ring when the Raptors won?
I don't know.
Or no, he didn't. Or Leo Roudens.
No, but we're talking about Steve Dangle. This predated Sportsnet. These Leafs fan reactions predated his time at Sportsnet. Okay.
It's an interesting thing. Like, I just think like, should he be considered a super fan like Nav
Yes.
is? Yeah,
Yes.
Well, but Nav spends the money.
yeah.
I want to know
He
how
bought.
much.
Wait. Steve bought a $60 James Reimer figure. Who spends $60 on a James Reimer
I
figure?
am trying to be serious about this, by the way.
I'm serious too. I don't know if he can hold it, with his back. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he can pick it up. I don't want him to hurt his back like he did with the
Oh my
stones.
Okay. Then what about a ring? Because yeah, we saw Drake got it, but Drake does he like financially supports one of the training centers, does he not?
Yeah, and he's the global ambassador.
Or we could have just stuck with this financial support there, and we would have been fine, Daniel. Because Brian Burke said that he has levels of rings for when Anaheim won.
Yeah.
Like he did like the concession workers one. So do you think?
The-
Like I don't know if he should touch the cup, but a ring.
He should get a ring. I
get a ring, yeah.
I think the Raptors did the same thing last year. They had the different levels of rings as well. Because the one that Drake got was different than the one that the players got.
And then he like made his.
But then he made his own ring. So technically, he has 2 rings.
Which
Will
is,
Steve do the same?
No,
yeah, it'll be a ring.
I don't think Steve's gonna spend the money on a ring. Maybe if they don't give Steve a ring, he might make his own.
I'm sure a fan would make one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's one
There'd
of
be
the
a GoFundMe.
yeah.
It definitely would be.
He's one of the shining stars of Sportsnet. Unfortunately, though, the other big network, TSN, this is going to be the last real stretch where Bob McKenzie's going to be full-time over in TSN. He's taking a step back. And it feels like an end of an era. And he'll still be around. He's not dying or anything. He's just like taking a step back.
He's retiring.
I never got to meet him yet.
I'm sure you'll find him. But in all seriousness, guys, this is there's a reason he's called the Bob Father. In the NBA, we have Woj bombs, but in the NHL, we have the Bomb Bob, the Bob Bomb. And this is seriously, and it's when you see that Bob McKenzie starts tweeting, he gets those threads going. They're beautiful. I love them. Like the start of NHL Insiders was Bob McKenzie, guys. A few words to say about the Bob Father. Daniel, we'll start with you because I know you're a massive Bob fan.
I'm a massive Bob McKenzie fan. I'm not going to lie. I know we've talked about this before. I've said it how many times when we were in class, but he's actually kind of the reason why I went to Ryerson for journalism.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, like, he's been, like, my go-to guy for all sports, even when, like, I don't know, like, the one thing that really kind of surprised me and amazed me was, like, when they kind of lost a lot of those contracts to Sportsnet, like, the content was so consistent still. Like, he never really missed a beat, I think. There's been a lot of changes in TSN, but, like, he's been, like, the one consistent guy. Or even when, like, I don't know, like how serious he kind of takes his work. But at the same time, like, when they look back on things, like, he could really kind of go like, oh, I did all of this. Or, like, I am a sports analyst, but I've made the mistakes too. I remember they looked back on, I think, 1994 or was it 96? No, 94, where he said Radek Bonk was like a can't miss superstar for the Ottawa Senators. Or Jeff O'Neill was like gonna keep the Whalers in Hartford. I remember he said this thing, like he could laugh at himself for these things. So that's what I love about him.
As he says, as he throws to overdrive with Jeff O'Neill. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys said a lot, but I know if I click on a tweet that has, like, there's few people I click on a tweet and know that what he's saying for the most part is true.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I had to select a few guys, he'd be one of maybe 5 people. Like, it's him, CJ, Elliot, and I'd even put Dreger in that. Like, yeah, everyone has their mistakes, but for the most part, those guys consistently come out with information that who else would know?
Yeah,
I'm probably missing a guy, but that's okay.
I'm sure when it's officially done and that there'll be plenty of tributes to the guy. But Bob, be sure to go to the cottage and enjoy the Bobberitas because you deserve it, man. And your son's going to be continue to do great work and represent the family name on Sportsnet. Guys, we talked a bit about the qualifying throughout the show so far, and it's official. The qualifying does indeed count as the playoffs. So those 24 teams have made the playoffs, including the Montreal Canadiens. The Chicago.
Congrats, Adam.
Okay, a legitimate question for you.
Mhm.
So let's say we're 3 years down the line, and I know it's purely hypothetical.
Hmm?
We're 3 years down the line and no playoffs for Montreal.
Mhm.
And Marc Bergevin comes on and says, "Hey, yeah, the last 4 years we've made the playoffs once," and he cites this year as like a playoff. Are you going to be satisfied with him?
Only if they win a round, as in they have to beat the Penguins and then win a round. Otherwise, it doesn't.
So they have to win 2 rounds.
Yes, technically, yeah,
Okay.
they have to win the qualifying and round one. They have to make it to the quote unquote second round, which is really the third round.
The third round.
Yes, no, the second, but technically the.
But
third.
it's technically the
Yes.
third round.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the title of the episode.
It's so weird. It's so weird because I remember when we first got all the news, it seemed like it wasn't going to be part
Yeah.
of the playoffs. And now that it's switched.
I think everyone's just confused. They're like, all right, so what are you guys calling this? Or what should this really be?
Yeah, we also know that the stats will be thrown under the playoff umbrella, which is fair. I don't know what else you were going to do with those points.
What if Ovechkin scores like 10 goals and then he's 10 goals away?
I was about to say funny that I'm like, if
record.
Ovechkin scores 10 in the qualifying, can we just put that into the regular season, please?
And then he ends up 10 goals away from beating Gretzky's record, and it's just going to be
bad. I feel like if Ovechkin's like 20 away, I feel like he'll just keep going.
Yeah, I
He's
can
like
see
a
that with him.
goat. And like they just get whoever the best playmaker at the time. It's because I think if you're the league and someone's that close, I think you all have to contribute.
he's 50 years old.
The goalies just move aside.
He's
You
like-
see him coming down the lane.
Like Vince Carter's last game where they just kind of like, yeah, go ahead and shoot some frees. Oh, you missed. Oh, there. Oh, he has the ball again. Oh, he missed again. Oh, no.
Wait, which last game? Because I feel like he's just had multiple last games.
His actual last game. All right,
But
that's
no,
the only
I guess
last-
at that point they didn't know. Or they
Yeah.
did. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, guys, we have 2 main nugs of information here. First of all,
Ryan
why
Nugent Hopkins?
Just Ryan
Ryan-
Nug Hopkins.
Oh,
Ryan Nugget Hopkins.
No, it's nuggets of news. Nugs,
Okay.
all right? It's British language. Right?
Not Hopkins?
Not
News?
Ryan Nugget Nugent Hopkins. God, you have me saying that. All right, guys. So, we'll talk about the CBA in a second. That's the main event. But we've got the semi-main event here. We've got qualifying to the main race here. Return to play phases 3 and 4. We've got some pretty wicked stuff coming out here. We'll start first of all. Guys, the qualifying is going to be 10 days. It's really 9 days. Day 10 is a day off. I hate it. In 9 days, we are going to have 52 games of hockey. Holy bleep. Guys,
That's a lot of games.
That's a lot.
How
And we're
many-
watching it all.
Again, we'll try. There's going to be some overlap. A hockey game is
For
what,
sure.
like, I'd average 2.5 hours.
Because I think it's every 2 hours another game starts. They're kind of
Mm-hmm.
doing it what they did with the World Cup.
Yeah, like 10 to 2, 4, 6 Eastern time, of course.
So yeah, I meant the soccer World Cup, not the World Cup of hockey. Just
I don't
just to
think-
be clear.
Anyone thought that, but
Just
I,
to-
I did. I'm not going to lie. I did.
just to be clear, I was
Okay.
talking about the actual World Cup. I don't know
Okay.
what
Mhm.
World Cup that
The
was.
World Cup of Soccer
Yes,
or
FIFA.
football.
yes, the FIFA World Cup.
But you know what, guys? I have it in front of me, right? And it's just the first day we have Carolina, New York. We have as in the Rangers, Islanders, Panthers, Montreal, Pittsburgh, then Chicago, Edmonton, the Flames, and the Jets. The next day you have the second round of them. Then you've also got the other divisional winners going on, guys. This is going to be for 9 days. Most of Canada is not going to leave their homes.
That's good, I guess.
Like we're just I mean right now
that's pretty good. Yeah,
let's go. I'd like to think, what are we gonna do?
Watch hockey.
I'm not leaving my basement whenever we finish it, but I don't know. I'm not gonna get off the couch. I mean, I'm ordering some pizza like every day now. I seriously I don't think we're gonna have lives through those 9 days. This is I love it so much, guys. It's awesome.
Yeah,
come on!
I'm so excited. I'm just so upset that I have to miss the first 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. So, how many days are you gone for? Because you're going to a cottage.
Yeah, I'm gone. I leave the 31st, and I come back the 3rd. Like I'll be back in the afternoon of the 3rd. So I missed 2, and I guess by the time I actually start watching hockey, 2.5 days. So I'll miss a Leafs game, but I'm gonna record it. I'll just watch it.
I think I'm gone those days too. Might go camping.
Hey, so I guess this is the official announcement. We will not be having a show on August 2nd.
Unless it's just Adam.
Unless Adam wants to record by himself.
So Adam. Carey Price, Adam. Carey Price, Adam.
That's funny.
No, if both of you are gone, then I guess we're not having August 2nd.
We can do it on the Monday or the Tuesday. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's a later. That's a future us problem. Don't worry about that.
Future issue, yeah. But 52 games in 9 days. Good God,
that is sexy. Like that is the epitome of.
You should do like a bingo, sheet of
All right,
you reach certain milestones. Yeah.
Friendly shot, 5-on-3, shorthanded goal. The Bruins coming back from something. I don't know.
Didn't leave your couch for how many games? Yeah.
You binge 3. Also, guys, apparently the rumored start times, and I think this is from Twitter NHL News, which is awesome. They always put a lot of Bob McKenzie stuff. And it's from Bob McKenzie that the way the schedules would work is it would be 12 p.m. Eastern in Toronto, one game would be. Then it would be 2 p.m. Eastern in Edmonton. 4 p.m. Toronto, 6 p.m. Edmonton, 8 a.m. Toronto, 10 p.m. Edmonton, but all those times are in Eastern.
Yeah. Okay. I was just going to make sure.
Oh, that's
fun. That's fun.
That's so beautiful. It's just going to be a full days of hockey.
I'll actually stay up to watch the 10 o'clock game.
I mean, do you have anything to do when you wake up the next morning?
Watch more hockey.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly. Hey, afternoon starts at midday. Hey, the Habs are good in the afternoon, so hopefully they play the Penguins then. Our next little thing, guys.
I have information on the Toronto bid if you want it.
Sure. Why not?
Because I know we didn't know what the Toronto bid was, so I did some digging.
Or do we want to wait till when we talk about the fate of hockey is in the hands of the players?
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. We also have some more significant dates. So tomorrow, Monday, July 13th, training camps will open. Also, by tomorrow, teams will have to have their 31-man team rosters in. Some teams like Tampa and Toronto have already started to get their dates out. The 26th of July, teams will travel to their hub cities. Exhibition games will be July 28th to 30th. The Stanley Cup qualifiers begin on August 1st. The Phase 2 NHL Draft Lottery, where those teams who fail to qualify for the first round will all have a shot at Alexis Lafreniere. The first round will begin August 11th. The second round begins on August 25th. Conference final, the September 8th. September 22nd will be the Cup final. The last possible day of the Cup final, October 4th. The 2020 draft will be the 9th and 10th, but a few of those dates are subject to change, of course, but fingers crossed. Any of those kind of days that you look at and you think, maybe in the raise an eyebrow, or you guys all thinking, this you look good.
You're back in school when there's the Stanley Cup finals, but we're still going to be online.
I'm going to be at home, so.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have midterms on August 4th.
If we have a 7 p.m. Gary Gould class, I hope he knows that I will be watching the Stanley Cup final.
Man, Gary, could you imagine the Leafs or the Habs made the Cup final and we had a class?
I'm not going.
I wouldn't go. I'd say, hey, Mike, let's have a watch party or something. Screw that.
Just go on the Zoom call, but like don't put your camera on.
Yeah.
No, I'll have my camera on. I'll have my camera on, but
yeah, and then you just see.
got my gear on, just all excited.
Or it's just the alternative, and you just see like.
Oh, it's massive.
I think the props are too cool in our program that they would be like, oh, I'm watching it too or something.
Yeah. Maybe Gary, because apparently for some reason every time he brings up hockey, it's like just bash the Leafs.
They blow another lead.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
But you just to, I guess, answer your question about the dates, I think that if things go to plan based on how the NHL has set things up, I do think that these dates are quite possible.
Mm-hmm. Next little bit of news here. Of course, players, Frank Saravelli, I think that was the first one to break it. But now official that every player will have a chance to opt out. They have until tomorrow specifically to say. So far, we know that Boston, Steven Kampfer, Calgary's Travis Hamonic, that's a big one. Edmonton's Mike Green, Sven Barchi of the Vancouver Canucks, and Carl Olsner of the Montreal Canadiens have all chosen to opt out. Also, there's a bit of an asterisk, but Max Domi has another 7 to 10 days to come to Montreal's training camp. A big part of it is they want to make sure everyone in Montreal are good, they're safe, and also give Max the sort of, make sure you're okay, buddy. Make sure at this point you're still comfortable. And then, of course, by the time he does a physical, making sure he's actually able to play whether or not, guys. But what I really want to ask you guys is – sorry, go ahead, Alex.
No, I think there was a couple other players as well who won't be there because they signed in Europe. I know Roman Polak. Then there's Zach Trotman in Pittsburgh, but it says it's unknown if it's injury or family related. Mikhail Vorobyov, Philadelphia, signed in KHL and will not play for the Flyers. Nikolai Goldobin, another guy who signed in the KHL.
Damn. And then there are also some injuries. Notably, Steven Stamkos might not be around. But specifically focusing on the players who have chosen to opt out, and we'll talk about like Hamonic, Green, Alsner, those main guys who we know for sure. What do you guys make that we're actually seeing some players choose to opt out? Because I didn't think we would, guys. What do you think? Starting with you, Daniel.
Yeah, I kind of felt that too. Like we talked about it before where in baseball or basketball, like these guys tend to be a bit more outspoken. Be more individualistic, I think, when it came to opting out. But, it's pretty surprising that we see that it's the same kind of reasons that these NHL players are giving. And I think the one case that I kind of saw was Travis Hamonic, which was surprising. I know, like, he's doing it for family, which, like, is great, but it's just crazy because he is a pending free agent. And I just was wondering, like, that's a big risk to kind of take for someone that, he's had he's always that solid shutdown guy, but he didn't really have a spectacular season.
A lot of respect for him, by the way. Alex.
Yeah, I think a little surprised. I think at the end of the day, hockey players are going to I don't think any person has been in a situation like this. And hockey players, just remember, are people. So I think they really did weigh the pros and cons here. And these guys said the cons outweigh the pros. So I'm going to stay home. So we might see a few more. That wouldn't be a surprise to me either.
By the way, if you're somebody who's criticizing these players, you're a loser. You are just a flat-out loser. And to the people that are trashing Carl Olsner, saying he was already an AHLer, you're also losers because this is a guy who is listen, this is a guy who had a wicked Ironman streak. He played a lot more NHL games than you probably have because you haven't played one. This is a guy who people have said nothing but good things about, and being a good person goes a long way in life. you can just be like hi, smile to the cameras, but Carl Alsner, no one will ever say a bad thing about the guy.
World Junior captain.
World
For
Junior
Canada.
captain. And it's not his fault that he just isn't as good, and he's not a part, like the type of defenseman you really need in this game anymore. And he's put his family first and his health first, which again, I'm sure there are a lot of NHLers, and this is pure speculation, that probably don't want to play, but they will because they feel pressured to. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to say before we move on to? Alex, you wanted to bring up the Toronto bid. What's going on exactly?
Yeah, I didn't look for the Edmonton bid, if I'm being honest, but I did look for the Toronto bid just because I think that was we talked about it on the podcast before, and there was multiple questions about it. So apparently this bid is different than the original bid that was sent, I guess, at the beginning. The original bid was really centered around building a bubble in the downtown core around Scotiabank Arena.
Uh-huh.
So I guess having multiple buildings that are players only. So I'm assuming the Scotiabank Arena plus I believe across the street, I know there's the Sport Check and the Metro. Next to it there's I believe hotels and offices. So I don't know how that would work. I couldn't find more about that plan, but the plan that it is now is it's going to be a 40-acre campus-like bubble based on the CNE grounds. I'm assuming, like, have both of you been to the CNE?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so what it kind of is so on one end there's the OVO Athletic Center. This is how the 40 acres would kind of work. One end is the the OVO Athletic Center, which is the Raptors practice facility, and I believe it would stretch all the way across, Daniel, to the Princess Gates.
Oh, okay.
Because the things that are included in it, like BMO Field, Coca-Cola Coliseum, which is where the Marlies play, the OVO Athletic Center, plus the Hotel X, which is one of the hotels that were chosen. So yes, it's technically still downtown, but it's a lot more secluded than being in the downtown core in the middle of like Yonge and Dundas or Yonge and Bloor. So I think it looks like a much better job of making sure that the players are actually kept all in one place, and the risk of fans are limited because of how they've positioned their bubble.
It's a bit of a stretch getting there. I always remember seeing the days. Yeah.
Where are the hotels in relation to the bubble?
So the Hotel X, which is the one where I believe the four divisional teams in Pittsburgh is staying, is within the actual bubble itself.
Mm-hmm.
Which it has 400. I wrote this down.
It's the nicer one, by the way. I was looking at
it's the 404 rooms. It has multiple meeting rooms, 2 ballrooms, a cinema, a screening room, a 3-level sky bar, a rooftop pool, an art gallery, and squash and tennis courts.
All right.
The Royal York, which is about 10 minutes away, I think, from the bubble, has 1,300 rooms, over 1,300 rooms and 4 restaurants, and that includes the rest of the teams: Columbus. Toronto, Montreal, Carolina, Islanders, Rangers, Blue Jackets, and the Panthers.
All right.
So I think they did a better job at this bubble than even just the sound of the original bubble, which is we're making a bubble in the downtown core.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a mess.
I think the strategy they created, I think it's worked really well so far. Like from what we've heard,
yeah,
they're able to use the space as much as possible downtown.
So it's at Front and University, all right. Where's the front I'm looking at? Fairmont. It's the Fairmont Royal York, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. By the way, why the hell are we making that public? Why are we saying where each team is? That's so dumb.
That seems weird. Well, I guess for Hotel X, they can't really fans won't be able to get in there. But The only thing I'd be interested in seeing is how it works during the day. Like if you're a player, it's and maybe it's I miss it. Like I read the return to play thing yesterday, and it was freaking long, right, Adam? Like I sent
Yeah.
it to you. It was long. I could have missed it in terms of if you're, let's say, Austin Matthews. Do you have to go to the 40-acre bubble, or can you choose to stay at the hotel, but only stay at the hotel?
There's a lot of application. Like, I read it too. There was we're kind of put it into it. A lot of it was kind of okay, make sure everything's sanitized, like sanitizing that. What I thought was really interesting about the return to play thing was you like the four group divide of how like this group may not have contact with this like hotel staff and that.
Yeah.
It's just with me now is the hopes and dreams of hockey coming back now lays in the hands of the players.
Right.
Because a lot of this is they have to clean up after themselves. They have to, the face masks, all this kind of stuff. And also, we now have to rely on the wild card of the hotel workers. Because, like, I feel worse for the hotel workers because, let's be honest, none of them want to do this. And, like, you can't just say, wouldn't get a different job in this circumstance. So, like, that I'm still worried. Like, I am filled with a lot more confidence reading it. But at the same time, a lot of it very much is wash your hands, laminate, with the addition of like it's all locked up.
For me, in terms of, I think a lot needs to be put on the players.
Mm-hmm.
The NHL, and I think this is a discussion we had on the podcast before, but is the NHL like? Do you trust the NHL? Right, I think we've had that discussion, right, a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
The NHL has now thrown this extremely detailed plan on this is what has to happen. If you guys want to play, this is what you need to do. If you don't want to do these things, don't come. If you do these things while you're here, we will ask you to leave. And now it's up to the players. And I think, yes, obviously there is the risk with the hotel workers, but there's a lot of things that the players have to do. And if you decide not to do them, at the end of the day, not only are you risking yourself, you decide to risk the hotel workers, you decide to risk the rest of the players. And I think a lot has to be put on the players at this point if they screw it up.
I agree as well that it's their, I don't know, I was going to say the ball's in their court now. Now I guess the puck is in their zone now.
The puck's in deep.
Yeah, that they have this side of the bargain they're gonna have to be responsible for now. That they have to kind of show that if all these are in place now, that like they'll adhere to the rules. That we're not gonna see someone like I'm saying at the St. Louis Blues. We're not gonna see them at a local bar or something because if that could happen in St. Louis with that coverage, it's gonna happen like a millisecond in Toronto.
Oh God, absolutely. And another thing is like. I think the from my looking online, it seems like a lot of expectation from the fans is that there's going to be 0 COVID cases. I just don't know how realistic that is. I think there's probably throughout the 2 to 3 months there are going to be multiple COVID cases that come up. But what the NHL has to do, and I think they've detailed this in their plan, is it's a matter of taking action on it, is going back and contact tracing, making sure, okay, if Austin Matthews tests positive within the bubble, okay, who did he have contact with over the last 14 days? Nylander, Janssen, like whoever it is, right? That you have to go back, make sure they're tested, whatever they've detailed. Because I can't imagine Gary Bettman and Bill Daly sat down and wrote this thing themselves. I'm extremely confident that there were scientists and doctors involved in this. Right, so it's science, right? So I think if they follow the rules and they do, and the NHL itself, when it comes time to dealing with a positive test, adheres to their policies.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, anything else you want to add?
No, Alex kind of detailed everything. I think too, like we just want to see like how the players are kind of kind of deal with all of this. And, like worst comes to worst, if a case does come up, I'm hoping that, they have the measures in place to kind of deal with that in the bubble and make sure that not everything is compromised.
Quickly before we move on, I don't know if you guys have seen this. Disney World opened up yesterday.
Idiots.
And you know where the NBA is playing?
Disney World.
Just across the street. That's technically still part of Disney World, the ESPN World of Sports or whatever the hell it's called. I had someone ask me yesterday. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and they're like, "But Disney World opened yesterday, and the NBA is playing at Disney World." I'm like, "You're right." So then I go search it up. Technically, it's across the street from Disney World. Technically, but it still doesn't make a smart thing to do.
Yeah, Florida. We're not going to rush everything reopening. Florida opened the biggest theme park in the world.
They just shattered records.
In
Florida, 15,300 new cases today.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, what we'll do now is we'll finish off talking about the CBA. So again, it has been ratified. Everything is official. Thank God. Don't have to stress over putting the show together, everything being an asterisk next to it. But guys, I want to hear each of yours, kind of like the biggest thing, your biggest takeaway, the thing you like the most about this CBA. Starting with, we'll start with you, Daniel. Why not?
I think player trades being less restrictive now. I think that's a big thing that I think we're gonna see that. I don't know, like it may like pave the way now for like more trades to kind of occur. I think like that was one thing that they've talked about before, where like the NHL's like the league where it's like the hardest to move players, especially like those high profile type of contracts. And we've mentioned the Zach Parise one where it's like, it was virtually unmovable for so long. And now, with the new CBA, we may see more movements now moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of saving teams, I think, that like buyer's remorse, I think.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Alex, what about you?
I don't know if it's not necessarily something I liked. It was just the thing that kind of stood out to me the most, which maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, is the salary cap, how it's structured.
What specifically?
Because and as the more I listen to Brian Burke talk about it, and the more I actually think about it, the more his train of thought makes a whole lot more sense to me. So right now, what they put in the CBA, is it's going to be for next year, $81.5 million is the highest limit, and it will remain that until preliminary hockey-related revenue surpasses $3.3 billion for any league year where preliminary HRR is between 3.3 billion and 4.8 billion, which I believe the 4.8 billion is what they had last season. The limit shall be between 81.5 and 82.5 on a pro rata basis. Once preliminary HHR for the immediately preceding league year surpasses 4.8 billion, the upper limit will increase by $1 million per league year until the escrow balance is paid off. So the thing that confuses me is, so we're going to play the rest of the playoffs, and we're going to play the playoffs and this qualifiers, whether you want to consider part of the playoffs or not.
It is.
Technically it is, but some people probably wouldn't. Either way, with no fans in the stands. And if you think about it, if you're in the playoffs, you're not charging the same for a regular season. That's the same for a regular season ticket. You're going to charge more. So they're losing a lot of money now. And if miraculously a vaccine comes, like Dr. Fauci said in the end of December or in January, okay, then maybe we'll have fans in stands for next year. But if we're using history to determine what this vaccine is, we don't know when this vaccine is going to come. right? So we're potentially losing next year's ticket sales, which for the National Hockey League, I believe takes up almost 60% of their hockey related revenue. So the thing for me is we're capping escrow at 20% next year, and then it's going to decrease over the rest of the CBA. But so for me, the owners are taking a huge hit if things don't go the right way, because yes, they're getting the money from the rest of the money from Seattle, but Seattle's already been making payments, so it's not like they're getting $750 million as soon as they get in the league. They have to split the US TV deal, right? Do they split the US TV deal?
I don't think they split that or Seattle.
No, I know they don't. I know they don't split Seattle, but a lot of Seattle money, at this point, I believe it would have been half, has already been paid. They've been making payments.
I don't, because I think Adam Wilde kept saying, and then he turned back, and I don't 100% know if the US TV deal is. I'll try and
but if you can find it, but they're still taking a huge hit. So I don't know how you keep the salary cap. If you're losing ticket sales, it's hard to keep the salary cap like that and have no salary rollbacks. And sure, it's 30, like Brian Burke says, okay, next year's 30% because of the 20% escrow and the 10% deferral. But we don't know, like the repercussions, we don't even know what the economic repercussions could reach to for a league like the NHL after this pandemic ends. So I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I think a lot of it is based on, okay, the US TV deal, the rest of the Seattle money. Is there going to be a vaccine? Are we going to have fans in the building? Because if those things don't happen, the owners are going to take and I get a lot of people are anti-owner because every time we have a CBA, there's the group of fans that come go to the defense of the owners, and a group of people that go to the defense of the players. But let's not be crazy, and let's think there's a reason they're millionaires, and the players are millionaires, and these guys are billionaires. These guys want to keep as much money as possible so for them to take a hit, something has to be, like, they must be anticipating something.
Daniel,
so a lot of hypotheticals, like Alex mentioned, that there's so many things that we don't know yet. Like the CBA is a great framework, but in no way like it is kind of like set in stone with a lot of things. Like a lot of the articles talk about like that new TV contract, or like what Seattle's kind of is going to bring to things, but it is kind of like all up in the air right now, like what the owners are going to do. Like I was like jokingly thinking, I'm like, are we starting to see jerseys for like $900 or something to like compensate for things, or we're just going to see like, I don't know, other ways to just try to have these add-ons now to try to recoup the revenue. But so much we don't know what's going to happen in a year or two. Like maybe when we're over that, when we cross those bridges, we'll see how the rest of the CBA kind of pans out up until 2026.
Right. All right. To finish up, I just have a list of maybe some bits of the CBA we can talk about. The most important is probably the cap space. The most interesting very well could be player details and trading. But I do think the most important for the good of the game change is that subject to an agreement with IIHF and the IOC, because of how long this agreement runs, that the league and the PA have committed to the 2022 and the 20 motorcycles, the 2022 and 2026 Winter Olympics, which is, you said it earlier, it's not the biggest win for the players, but with this, the star players get a chance to go to the Olympics, and the guys who are not going to make it the 99% are going to get some sweet vacation time. And like this does such good for the good of the game, the Olympics. It's just so fun. Like,
So fun.
I didn't realize it until probably the last few weeks, but God, I miss the Olympics. And to me, the Olympics are ice hockey. The Summer Olympics are the 100-meter dash. It's been Usain Bolt. The Winter Olympics is hockey. And it speaks volumes to me that apparently the IOC extended an olive branch to the NHL because they both have kind of realized they need each other. And I love it. I love it so much, the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how fond, looking at how the schedule works out, how fond they're going to be of going to these 2020, or the league is a play. Like, obviously at this point, they've already said, okay, discuss with the IOC, but I don't know how fond of that decision they're going to be when you're coming up with the schedule for next year and the year after, considering how much hockey these guys will be playing. It's going to be interesting because I think, the more hockey they play, the more competitive hockey they play, the higher chance that they could get injured.
Yeah, but most of the NHL players are getting a vacation from this, though.
Okay, but the star players are going. You know how much okay. Let's talk about a market with a superstar but a poor fan base.
Buffalo. I'm kidding. No, they're actually pretty good.
Yeah, Buffalo is a weird example because they have a poor team and great fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Arizona, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Why not?
Okay, Oliver Ekman-Larsson is Swedish.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say he goes to the Olympics, and gets injured. That takes a hit on what happens when he comes back. Like, what happens with the team in terms of fan? Like, yes, they already have minimal fans coming, but if I'm going to see Arizona, I'm not going to see Arizona play to go watch Christian Fischer or Nicholas Yarmulson. I'm going to see Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I'm going to see Phil Kessel. I'm going to see maybe 3 players. Clayton Keller.
So do you think they shouldn't go then?
From an NHL business standpoint, if a player gets injured and the NHL teams have to pay the insurance, or they have to pay their contracts because those contracts aren't insured at the Olympics, no, it does not make sense because they're paying out of pocket.
And what do you personally want?
Personally, they can go. Yeah, why not?
But it's not. Yes. Can go. What do you want?
Yes, sure. Yes. I'd like them to go, but not everything's one point of view.
I'm just saying the players like it.
The NHL is a business. The feds
like it helps.
The NHL is yes, they should go to China, but why go? We're in 2026. It's Italy. Are you going to grow the game in Italy?
You should grow in anywhere you can.
But how many hockey players, let alone come in Italy?
Okay, listen. I told you guys I needed to go quicker, and we're supposed to rapid fire through this. Daniel, your thoughts on the Olympics?
Kidded me. Wants them to go. The Olympics is always a happy time, and it's still with me that I want that. But I don't think you say so much the asterisk of it going all right, what is the fatigue or gonna look like on the players, on the business side of things? I know that they're playing out of pocket, but I need but I agree. I want the game to kind of grow wherever it kind of goes. No matter what Don Cherry says, where it's no fan here is going to watch in the middle of the night. Untrue. The World Juniors had a lot of viewings when it was in Russia. Sorry, Don. But I agree. I want the game to grow.
I'd stay up to watch it. By the way, the league wanting an 82-game season next year, that's on them. They're idiots for that. Next sort of thing, I want to talk to you guys about caps recapture. This is from Michael Russo, The Athletic. Source, cap recapture, Parise Suter in brackets, amended a new NHL, NHLPA, CBA. There is no longer a charge greater than the contract's AAV in any year, but charge continues until full overage is paid. What that basically means, ladies and gentlemen, is there's a situation where Shea Weber retired on a certain year because he has one of these old CBA deals, where Nashville could have a single-year cap hit or recapture penalty, of over $20 million. The same can somehow happen with Parise and Suter. Now, with this amendment, the NHL have again saved owners from themselves, and the cap it for Parise and Suter can be no greater than $7.5 million.
A lot of savings.
That's good.
It's just the owners, the league saving the owners from themselves.
Yes.
For things they did pre-2012, 2013, sorry.
Around there. We talked about stuff like
pre-2013,
Yeah.
Because the summer of 2012 where I was hoping Zach Parise would come back for another finals run with the Devils.
Nope.
the Devils, Ilya Kovalchuk. They're another team. They love
41-year-old Martin Brodeur carrying the team.
All right. let's talk about this.
Okay.
All right. It's weird. I thought that maybe there would be some sort of, or it sounded like at some point during the year, term was always a talking point. And I thought, like, all right, maybe there's going to be some sticking point to 6 or something. Another little edit here that I found really interesting is now players who are dealt can immediately sign an 8-year extension when they're traded instead of having to wait till post-trade deadline. Like Erik Karlsson, that's kind of situation. It was at 7, now it's at 8. That's a red flag for me, guys. I don't know about you.
In what way? Like the owners are going to just straight up sign them for 8 years? Like
Yeah, there's instead of lowering it down, now you've immediately given them the chance for another year. And I mean, this year, I don't know how many players are going to be or owners are in a situation. But again, in 3-4 years, I don't want to. The Erik Karlsson deal now scares me that you're going to give another sort of year for players. It's good for players, don't get me wrong. But
so sorry, just what is it exactly that if they get traded before the deadline of their contract year?
Anytime they get dealt now, they can sign. Yeah, once there is the year, once you're eligible for an extension, you can immediately do 8. When before, so Erik Karlsson could only sign a 7-year until the deadline. Then he can sign an 8. Mark Stone at the deadline right away, 8 years. But normally, if you sign it before it would only be 7 years.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Good for the.
At least it's not 17 years.
No, thank God. And I mean.
That Rick DiPietro contract.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Another little bit of contract stuff we have here, guys. The UFA interview period is gone. We can go straight to it's 12 p.m., July 1st. Pick up the phone, boys. Let's go. Free agent frenzy.
Okay, but let's not pretend that that's not going to happen, even though this period is technically not in the books. It's going to happen.
I don't think it will be as bad, but it will definitely. There's going to be more drama.
Well, at 12:01, when name a player, Taylor Hall signs the contract at 12:01 to a different team that's not the Arizona Coyotes. That definitely raises some red flags in terms of this CBA.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. Daniel.
I don't speedy process. I already kind of felt like compared to other leagues, the NHL was kind of quick when it came to announcing their signings already. So it's going to be even quicker now. Like, like the NBA, I think I mentioned it before, where like, I think the biggest thing was like the summer of 2010, where like literally every superstar was a free agent.
Yeah.
You still had to wait like 7 to 10 days until someone like said, okay, I'm going to this other team.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of like.
And last year it was, it was the same thing, but it was so much quicker, right? Like we found out KD gets traded, or his signing rights get traded, and Kyrie signs right away.
Or we had to wait for Kawhi.
Yeah.
For him to hurt us.
Kawhi and died. Next piece of little information from the CBA here. Teams can no longer trade players and acquire assets with the condition of that player re-signing with the team they were dealt to. So the Ottawa Senators have been saved now. The Sharks, that kind of stuff, like the Erik Karlsson deal, those sort of situations will no longer be happening. That was another sort of This is one I'm not a fan of, actually, because I liked that kind of, you're now watching the Sens or the Sharks all year to see where that pick lands.
They were fun. Like, I felt that that added like another level of like, how am I gonna keep following this trade after it happens? How this guy's gonna perform on his new team? Like, so Adam, with this, does this also affect the Lucic James Neal trade with that third rounder?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah,
There
we're
was
like
an
it
issue.
was.
There was an issue with that one. I think they had to get involved. The NHL had to get involved with that one.
That was like a weird one. That it was like if James Neal scores 21 goals with the Oilers, but Lucic gets less than 10, gets like
10 with
scores 10 or less than Neal, then the third rounder like goes.
Oh, it's such a.
Yeah.
I wonder. I think for me, it makes me wonder how it affects trade value in terms of what the actual trade turns out to be. Because you see, let's talk just quickly the Taylor Hall one, right? It was the first three prospects and like a third, and that third could change if he resigns and they win a round or something like that. I wonder how that trade looks if that pick is not, if that condition isn't available.
Mm-hmm. Last bit of little spicy nug here. So, and this has always been kind of stood out. Like, how was this never a thing? No trade and no move clauses shall always travel with the players in the event of an assignment or a trade or waivers.
Yeah.
Reason this is weird. Funny little situation for you. A few days after PK Subban was traded, he was supposed to have a no move clause kick in. But then once he was dealt to Nashville, he then lost it. And then that's how he was so easily dealt to New Jersey. What do you guys make of it's how in the hell, first of all, this wasn't something that was available and wasn't already a standard in the CBA, but now players have it?
Daniel, quickly, you might know this. Was this a hockey or was it a basketball thing where it was up to the teams if they wanted to keep the no move or no trade clause, or was it neither of them? Because I remember it being a discussion. I just don't remember which sport.
I can't remember.
That's fine. It might have been hockey. I thought that it was the option of the team that was acquiring the player that they could continue the no move, no trade clause.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like such a breach of contract to me.
Yeah, like it was never technically used in like any of the Subban deals.
Poor guy. He didn't deserve it. Never asked for a trade.
Unbelievable.
Anything else you guys want to say? I think that's everything from my notes.
PK will rise again.
PK, I hope he does. I think he's got the energy, he's got the drive. His back just has to hold up.
Him and Steve with these back issues.
Yeah, I mean, if you put them both together, they've got the durability of a straw to the durability of a small stone, maybe. I don't know. All right, guys. That's everything. If you are a listener, hello, first of all. We love you. We do miss doing 2 episodes, but I imagine once the playoffs get going, very quickly we'll go back to doing 2. Alex texted me the other day and he said, I miss doing 2 episodes. And I said, Alex, I feel the same way.
Yeah, I feel so weird.
I was ready to record on Wednesday.
Like I have class Wednesday morning, and I'm like, oh, nothing. I guess until 7 p.m.
Nothing. You can finish your Lego Batman.
Is it done?
In the future, it will be.
The silence means no.
Dude, you like 3. Is it still like 3 bags?
I have like 3 bags left. Yeah, it's just like there's like one part in it. Like I actually had to find on YouTube. Like it's so like like the cockpit that slides. It's so difficult to attach onto it. Okay. But anyways, yeah.
These things take time. It's okay.
Yeah.
Do you have the box in front of you?
Somewhere. I have to get it, but okay. I'll show it next episode.
Because I was gonna say, Daniel, you do know the recommended age is like 10, right?
No, this one is like 15 plus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's advanced, man.
He chose the advanced one.
If that's everything, then I guess I'll quickly check Twitter to see if there's any sort of. Oh man, Sidney Crosby just opted out. Oh my God! Can you imagine if anyone?
Oh wow!
I almost believed you. I almost believed.
Oh my God!
No, I can tell the tone.
I know.
All right, that's everything then. All right. Well, if you, the listeners, enjoyed the show, there's tons of ways you can support it. Check out the YouTube channel for a visual experience to see me and Alex roll our eyes at each other because we never agree. Look at Daniel slowly go off into the side because he's so sick of us. Check out all of our social medias, all being the link below. While you're on YouTube, check out my Habs channel. By the way, I'm going to be, once Montreal releases their 30-man roster, I'll be breaking that down in the video. Thank you to VoiceAd, as always, for continuing to be a great platform for the show. Am I forgetting it? Follow the show on Twitter. Oh, no, we don't have Twitter. Instagram and Facebook to get the discussion going and find updates. August 10th, by the way, will be a special live stream episode because that will be the second draft lottery. Mike will be there as well. If you're a fan of him, why wouldn't you be?
Perfect.
Hey.
See you guys.